Stop it.
And
So
fry.
jealous. It's terrible. It's terrible. All right. I've never used this before. Oh,
And
live.
thank
There we
you
go.
for joining. Yeah, we are live. So hi, everyone. I am Katherine D. Graham, a fantasy author, and this is the New Year's Day live chat.
Yes.
And it's 2022. Happy New Year.
Yes,
Happy New Year.
everyone.
Happy New Year,
We've got
everyone.
Carly with us. Katrina is with us. Darrah is with us. Wren may be joining us at some point, and if she does, we will just add her into the stream. But we're here to just talk about dragon fantasy today and our book news for 2022, because we are all dragon fantasy indie authors in some capacity. Charlie, as you can see from Charlie's background, which is just awesome.
I tried to be snazzy while we were waiting, and I thought, let me put that there because I'm in my living room and you don't need to see that. So I thought, let's try
awesome. I've got my green screen, but no way to turn it on without power.
Right,
There's a storm going on here, so I apologize if you guys hear anything.
Oh, you're fine.
All right.
No, so you're fine. You're fine.
We're going to just kick it off. We'll go alphabetical order. So Charlie, Darrah, Katrina, we're going to introduce yourself, since there's a lot of people who are joining who may not know who all of us are. And then after we all introduce ourselves, we can start talking about the fun stuff, the news for this year.
Cool. So I'm going first, yeah?
You are.
Well, yeah, so I'm Charlie, full name Charlotte Murphy, as you can see behind me. I am a fantasy author predominantly. I have dabbled in the dark arts of romance, but we won't go there. I write primarily fantasy. I published I say 4 books last year, which isn't as big as a fate as it sounds. It's just I'd written the book in its entirety and then kind of split it up into 3 and just put them all out at one go. So I didn't just write 4 books in a year, guys. Obviously, I'm from the UK. I'm from London. I don't know, what else am I supposed to say about me? I love dragons, and I've come today very appropriately dragony. Like, we have fire hair today, and we also have our Targaryen medallion right now. So I'm feeling very dragony, and I'm excited to have this chat with you guys.
I'm so excited you're here and just in all the dragon greatness.
I know, it's just wonderful and fiery, isn't it?
Luna Magic says, "Yay, dragons!"
I love it. You know, actually, I said all of that and I didn't even say what the titles were. So obviously, my fantasy trilogy is called The Anthony D's Legacy, and its prequel is Genesis of Dragons, which you can see, as I said, again, behind me, which is a origin, I guess, kind of a revelation story as well, about how dragons came into the world and consequently why somebody wants to destroy them. So yeah, if that interests you, have a look.
So Darrah, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Darrah Steffen, and I published my debut novel this year in March. It's called Rise of the Dragon Queen. And yeah, I was pretty excited about it. And I live in North Dakota, and right now we're experiencing some negative degree weather.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been like negative 20 all week. It's been super fun.
Negative 20.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I can't even.
My screen.
Oh, man.
But,
I feel cold just listening to that.
I've also came to dragons because I am a paleontologist and I study dinosaurs. So that's kind of where I came to that.
Cool.
So I'm going to fix my computer real quick.
I love that. I just learned a word I didn't even know.
Oh, what, paleontology?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even know that word.
No, that's some good stuff right there. Sorry, before I go into one, can we swear? Because I am that person that will just say stuff, or do I have to behave?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try, but there may be some stuff. But no, paleontology, that's good, because she's got like I would say more of an academic aspect and understanding of the anatomy of dragonism, as opposed to us who just kind of love them because they're cool.
Fantastical. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I quite enjoy that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm hoping we get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Katrina is here with us today. And I should have mentioned this because I'm sure people are seeing Susan's face on the tag. Susan is unfortunately so under the weather today that she couldn't join us. And so I hate that. I will still put Susan's links and stuff in the description because you should totally go check out her Instagram. But it worked out because Katrina has joined us today. And Katrina is also Hey, Wren. So Katrina, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, and then Wren, we're just introducing ourselves. So after Katrina introduces herself, you can introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Well, hi guys, I'm Katrina N. Lewis. I published my first fantasy debut novel. I believe it was May of 2020. Heavy is the Head, Love and War. It's a fantasy romance, features dragons. I do have a free short story as well called A Crimson City, which is super cool. And yeah, I love dragons. So I had to feature them in my debut novel. And what else am I supposed to say here? Oh yeah, I was supposed to actually be on the first live at 1 p.m., but I missed it. So Catherine was very nice and let me join this one. And I want to give a shout out to author Emmy Hamilton for holding it down with Catherine while I was completely MIA. So Catherine, thank you. Emmy, hey girl. And I'm
Yeah, the 1 o'clock live was Court Intrigue, which everybody you can go back and catch on the YouTube recordings if you're listening to that. Because Katrina's has got dragons and Court Intrigue. I think a lot of us have dual genres going. The dragons in my book appear in a portal adventure fantasy called Starfire Express, where they are actually the benevolent overlords of the universe. Here. But it's mostly adventure fantasy with the court stuff tied in, fairies and dragons at war. So, Wren, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Wren. I published my first book back in October. It's called The Serpent Lord. And while it doesn't necessarily feature a dragon per se, it features a lizard-like thing called a basilisk. But some of my other upcoming stories will be featuring dragons. I'm really obsessed with them. They're kind of my favorite. I like to write a lot of fantasy, epic fantasy, but there's always some element of romance in it. So you can expect some epic adventure with epic love with my books.
And a feisty female main protagonist, if you're talking about the Serpent Lord, which is in common with Katrina's.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, I have a princess female main character who's like really outspoken and stubborn and like beautiful. Like I love her to death.
That is Princess DC and Heavy is the Head.
Yeah. Me too. That's Elise.
All about those strong female main characters I can hear.
Loving it.
And Darrah's too, strong female main characters.
Yes, they're sisters, and so they kind of complement each other with their sassy personalities.
Well, that's awesome. So everybody who is on, if you're watching and you have questions about any of our books or about writing or publishing in general, just drop them in the chat and we'll answer them as we go through. But really, it's so cool to get everybody together and just see everybody live starting out the new year.
It's so fun.
So since Wren, you sort of went last, maybe we'll just go sort of in reverse order. Tell us what you've got coming in 2022.
Oh my gosh, I have so many things. Because 2021 was like a really hard year for me. I went through a lot of like stuff in my personal life, so I didn't get a chance to put out a lot of my projects. But 2022 is going to be a busy year. I have the Realm of Darkness set, which you're in with me as well. And I'm writing with Becky James, who is also a fantasy author. And we are doing some Fae romance, which will be a lot of fun. And then book 2 in my Crown of O'Malley series is on the schedule for the spring, early summer. So book 2 will definitely be coming. And then I have a couple of other like anthology pieces coming out soon. So I'm pretty excited. It's gonna be a cool year.
Nice.
Yes,
a lot of
that's really
writing.
cool.
In Realm of Darkness, that's the set that I'm sure the others have seen, and I don't know if the readers have. It's got 40 full-length dark fantasy, regular fantasy, and paranormal fantasy romances in it. And it just launched on Amazon for pre-order today, and it's 99 cents for all 40 books in the set today. So
and they're full length. They're full length.
Full length, yeah. I can't wait to read them because we work together in the set, but so far nobody's really like read each other's work yet. So yeah,
it's a really cool experience. Like I'm having a lot of fun with it.
So Katrina, answer a burning question for us. Is your nerdy book box today or like this month, or is it last month?
It's today. So yes, my book is being featured in the book box, nerdybookbox.com.
Amazing.
Go check it out. And yeah, sales start today, so I'm super excited about that. Hopefully to get some more people with their eyes on my book, and hopefully they enjoy it as much as I did writing it and rereading it 1,000 times. So yeah, now that's exciting.
That's really cool.
That cover, that cover is beautiful.
Yeah, I love the purple version as well.
Yes, really it's nice. So pretty. Really so I'm just gearing up for that. Just been working on that, and yeah, so sales, they started today, so I'm really excited.
So we've got a question before we move on. Let's see if I can get it to load. Helen says, Wren, how did you decide to co-write a novel? How has that worked for you?
So it's really funny because Becky actually approached me to co-write, and it's actually how I got into writing. Was I do a lot of collaborative writing on like forums with other people, and the Serpent Lord was actually originally in its very first draft, like a year and a half ago, was a collaborative story I wrote with somebody else, and I find that I work really well in groups. So Becky was like, hey, we have 2 like different kinds of writing styles. Like, I think that they could complement each other really well. Do you want to, try this? Because like, I don't write a lot of romance and you really like to write a lot of romance, and, we would do really good together. And so I felt really honored that, she asked me to write, because Becky's like one of my favorite human beings in existence. So, so far it's been really, really good. I think that we both are like on the same like wavelength as to what we want to write. And she's kind of like taken my initial idea and run with it. So we have like this really expansive series planned for these Fae. And I don't write Fae, so this is like new for me too.
Love a bit of Fae.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
That's great. So Katrina, what news do you have? What's coming out besides the nerdy book box in 2022?
Yeah, so like Wren, my 2022 is gonna be super busy because I'm working on Heavy is the Head 2. Have to get that draft out. Get it to beta.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, Charlie knows.
Listen, she's been telling me she's been writing this book for about 5 years. Like, she needs to hurry up. Like, inquiring minds want to know
really hard.
where the F is it? Like, hurry up. I don't know.
That is how I feel right now, but I am going to draft that in the next 2 months to get that done. But I'm also working on a really cool, like paranormal, fantastical vampire romance for Wattpad. That's been really fun. I'm hoping this project will teach me more about like who I am as a writer. So that'll come out like I'm hoping around Valentine's Day. People begin to check out on my Wattpad. But yeah, just me working mostly. I'm hoping to get some cool artwork done, and so I have some fun things in the pipeline, for my page and for my world and things that I'm working on. But Heavy is the Head 2. I gotta hit the ground running. It's January 1st now.
Yes, we must know what happens.
Right. I'll keep you posted. And I'll continue to drive Charlie crazy.
I know.
We've had Charlie on the hook way too long.
Yeah, so we're kind of like each other's CPs, so critique
Mhm.
partners, obviously. So, you know, Heavy is the Head, the first one I did read before it was out and stuff like that, which I really
Yes.
enjoyed.
You read it a couple
So
times, actually.
yeah, exactly. We read it a couple times, and we had Zooms and Instagram vids, and just going back and forth with ideas and how she could, I wouldn't say fix, but
Mhm.
better edit draft what she was going through and stuff. So it's just funny, like getting to this point in the story. I'm not writing it, but I feel as though I'm a part of the process
Can
kind of
you
thing.
write
So
it?
yeah,
Can
so
you
her
help me?
releases exactly. So her releases are my releases. I'm just like, hurry up! Like, what is this? Like, I need to read this. So yeah, it's been fun being on the journey with her.
It has. And I love
What
you. So
about you guys? Do y'all have critique partners too? Darrah and Wren?
Yeah, I have a couple. Becky's actually one of mine. She like reads everything I write.
I wouldn't say I have one that's super like formal. That's like another writer, but my husband does a lot with looking at my work, and then also my little sister is a very avid reader, and so I send everything to her and ask her like, does this make sense? Do you think like the motivations of my characters like work, or do you think it's kind of contrived? And so I get it from them, but where I'm at, like where I live, and I don't have a ton of like writer friends, and I don't really, there's not a lot of people here that have that or do that. So mostly I rely on people I've met through the writing community or my family to kind of help out with like making sure that everything flows correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just thinking that actually, as in, my critique partners, I don't think I knew them in real life until, the ones that I did find out were in the UK, and then we met up later. But generally speaking, it's just like you don't know that there are people in your proximity until you start this kind of journey. And then you realize, like just yesterday, I want to say I was messaging a girl about some reviews and stuff. And for the life of me, I thought she was American, like as you guys all are. It's like the whole internet is American. And yeah, I thought she was American, but she mentioned, she was like, oh no, I'm going to somewhere in my area. And I was like, you live there too? And now it's just like, oh my God, now we're besties. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, your CPs don't always have to be someone you even know. My other one, shout out to Sarah Zerig. She's from Colorado. She's another CP of mine. Never met, but I absolutely adore her and all her input. So it can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's sort of like Darrah. My number one person to critique is always my youngest sister, second youngest sister. I have too many siblings. My second youngest sister, she literally reads everything that I write because she's got a really good developmental editing eye, and she's not afraid to be like, sorry, Neko, this doesn't work. Or did you know that you had this big hole? And it's just made my writing so much better too. I mean, I work with writers too and have editors that it's like having that grounding first of, is this even worth putting out before I go anywhere
Yeah.
with it is nice. But yeah, so Darrah, what have you got coming in 2022? You worked in the Nerdy Book Box last year, right?
Yes. Yeah, I did some stuff with Nerdy Book Box. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I was really excited. I was like, yes, this is great. So this year was hard, besides my book coming out, that was great. But I didn't get a ton of my extra writing goals done because I actually switched my day job. And so I was very much consumed with like getting back into, a new job. But so this next year, I'm hoping to finish the sequel with edits and formatting and getting out the sequel to my first book. It's called Keepers of Knowledge, and it continues the storyline that started in Rise of the Dragon Queen. And then I've also been working on the final edits for a standalone, I've been calling it like a historical fantasy romance. It's kind of like a flipped retelling of Beauty and the Beast, where the girl is the beast, and she was cursed by a witch, and she turns into a tiger whenever she's around other human beings. So she's kind of isolated in this castle up in the mountains, and then this
Russian soldier gets trapped in the castle during an avalanche, and so
I like the
That's
way
cool.
this
I
sounds.
do like
Yeah.
that one. I do like that one, but I'm gonna be the person that says a tiger in the mountains.
a Siberian tiger, because it's all set in Russia.
Got ya. Thank you.
Yep.
I was like,
It's
shouldn't it be
awesome.
like a something? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Siberian tiger. Got it.
Let me know if you need a beta reader down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Keep me on your list.
Right.
Oh, love retellings. And Charlie, what's going on? What's new for 2022?
Oh, for me, a lot. So last year I was pretty much, I'll just put out what I want when I want kind of thing. I was just all about the I have no deadlines, I have no rush. But 2022, so in about 3 months, I'm going to have a baby. So I am effectively on kind of a pseudo deadline, in the sense of I want to have the chunk of the kind of redrafting and editing and stuff that I plan to do relatively out of the way before she arrives, because post baby I feel like, yes, I'm not going to be the same person, I'm not going to have the same energy, it's just not. So so the plan for this year is to finally release a book I worked on last year called Walls of Duty. It's a paranormal fantasy romance, I guess, about wolf shifters. It's in the same world as Genesis of Dragons and the Antilles Legacy. It's not a complete follow-on story, they just exist in the same universe. So it's my 5th Eververse novel, and so yeah, I plan to release that, I say very loosely, in April. So I've got 4 months to get cover. Well, I say to get cover, the cover's being worked on at the minute. So I've got 4 months to organize a release schedule so that it can just be out doing its thing while I raise little human. So that's what I plan to do. I finished the sequel to Walls of Duty just 2 days ago, so just before the end of the year, which is Walls of Honor. And depending on how well Duty goes, and just, what I want to do with it, 2 books may come out next year. So I might do one in April and then one maybe in like October or something. But again, that all depends on the drafting, because it's just finished, but it's the very first draft. It's completely rough. There's holes all over it. It was just your heart draft. Is that what people call it? So definitely releasing Wolves this year, possibly releasing its sequel at the end of the year. Continuing with my podcast, Books and Shit, which is a bi-weekly podcast. You can find it on Spotify, what's the other one? Apple, Google Pod, everywhere basically. Just continuing with that. It's every 2 weeks, as I said. And yeah, so as I said, it sounds relatively straightforward. It's just the throwing in this little womb gremlin, and it's just I'm gonna have to navigate books with, like, I'm gonna type with one hand and breastfeed with another. It's just like, I don't know.
And do it. It's great.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, lives like this.
Dictation is a lifesaver. Dictation. Get Dropbox on your phone, open the document, hit that record, and then really it's just fixing all the words that it misinterpreted.
Yeah, that it missed out, exactly. So I've got that, and then depending on how I feel and time permitting, I'm going to start what I want to be is a dark YA fantasy called School of Suns. If any of you guys follow me, I had some like games on my stories and stuff, trying to people played a multiple choice game and got sort into different houses a la Hogwarts style. So it was a house depending on one of the elements. So you had earth, fire, water, air, or ether. So there's a 5th one. And I'm going to be working on that, which is about a school of heirs to different kingdoms, but nobody knows which kingdom they belong to. And so they send them there to protect them, so that they have anonymity, like no one knows which country or whatever they're going to inherit. But slowly someone starts to kill off the boys, and they don't know why or who, and they have to figure that out. So yeah.
Wow.
So here for it.
Cool.
So here for it.
But yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome. So many good things, and we've all got so packed years. It sounds like for
Yeah,
2022.
it's
This
gonna be
year, I've
busy.
got a couple more novellas coming for Splitting Worlds, which I hope will set the stage for Splitting Dawn. That's my full-length book in the Realm of Darkness set that we were talking about earlier. Um, just with Draco, the Demon King, and Syracuse. Their love story is coming out in April. It's so long that I was hesitant to even call it a novella, but it's just not long enough to be a novel.
Mm-hmm.
So theirs will come out, and then the second part of their story will come out in August, and then Starfire Express will come out at some point this year, and then of course the Realm of Darkness set will have Splitting Dawn with Draco and the vampire elves and everything. Um, uh, so it's just been a busy year, but it's going to be an exciting year for all of us. So I'm so excited about your books. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
No, there is so much fun stuff to be had, isn't there? It just sounds like such a culmination of, ideas. I mean, we're all here because we started off a la dragon kind of thing, but it's just so amazing what different people can create in other spheres of stuff, which is really good. I really like that.
Yeah. So there was a question that came up on the first live today, and it was just so good that I've just kept it for the others. How did you end up writing dragon fantasy specifically with all the different genres, obviously, that we are also writing in?
Oh, who's going first? Are we going back the other way?
Whoever wants to chip in first, I guess.
I'll go.
Oh, okay. I was going to say one of the big reasons that I started with dragon fantasy is I've always just loved reading dragons. I've always been super interested in them. But I also, my day job, I work as a paleontologist. So I work with fossils and I work as a curator at the museum here in North Dakota. And so I prep fossils and care for fossils. And one of the big things that I thought was really cool growing up was like how many myths were inspired by fossils. And so that was one of the big things that drew me to dragon fantasy when I was reading it as a kid. And so when I started writing, that also kind of just funneled back through there again.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm a bit of a basic bitch when it comes to why I started liking dragons. I say liking dragons. I've always liked dragons. What's that old Sean Connery film when he's the voice of the dragon? It's like Inkheart or Dragonheart or
Dragonheart.
Dragonheart. Like there was that film back in the day that was just awesome. I was obsessed with Reign of Fire with like Christian Bale, which is a bit newer. They were just, dragons are sexy, like dragons are cool, dragons are awesome. And like, come on, I'm sorry, like they're sexy. Like it's just, there's something about dragons, they're just very sexy. And I've always loved them. And I read Eragon, as a lot of us did back in the day. And the idea of a talking dragon, but not in an animated way, in a, through your mind, you're connected to it, it's your friend, it's your pet almost, was that next leap to, they're not these necessarily benevolent things, you can make them that, but they can also be, friendly and host. Like we're moving away from Smaug in, Tolkien, and moving more to How to Train Your Dragon, and it was just such a nice transition, which I really loved. Then obviously the obsession of Game of Thrones came about, so that was another push to me, like these are amazing. And just generally it was just the kind of standard appeal of these really majestic and always royal creatures that, dragons are never sidemen, if that makes sense. They're never supporting roles. It's they're dragons. Like, if someone shifts into a dragon, if someone, if dragons are about, the story's going to be serious. And I was just really involved, and I really loved that. And when I was writing the Anthony's Legacy first, it didn't even have dragons in it. And I literally rewrote the whole story so that it could feature dragons. I just wanted them in there. I was like, how can I make this a thing? And it's like, well, do you want? Like, right? So I was like, fine. The ancient power is dragons. Put that in there, and off we went. And then people really loved that part. And then that was how obviously Genesis was born, which features dragons as a main kind of protagonist. But yeah, I was just really basic. Like there was no deep understanding of paleontology, Darrah. There was, it just dragons are hot, and I just thought it was cool.
Yeah. I know mine's kind of unique, but
No, but I love it because even like when I got back into obviously pandemic, everybody was just indoors, not doing much. And I got back into reading and the writing community. And one of the very first books I read was Samantha Shannon's The Priory of the Orange Tree.
Mm.
And, that book is an absolute tome, but it was wonderful in opening my eyes up to different types of dragons as well. So you had like in her book, I mean, there was like the Eastern inspired ones. So there are more like worms, how Chinese dragons are like this kind of thing. And then you had the more westernized ones, which technically were more wyverns. So they only have front appendages, like their front arms are wings essentially. And that was amazing. And then I read, I can't remember the author now, but House of Dragons. And again, it went into kind of the Darrah sense in the anatomy of dragons, the different types. There was a scientific element to how they flew if they didn't have wings. It was like, and I was absolutely blown away by it. And I was just like, I need to make this a thing. And, my own have come out of that. But as I said, I'm that basic person. As in, I read it, I loved it, so now I need to make my own one. So it was, that was me totally.
So you say you're basic, but I think I'm even more basic than that because I haven't like gone into like the study of how they fly or anything like that. I know like there's like certain kinds, and I think my love for dragons came from I'm a really big fairy tale girl. I love like Disney and the Grimm stories, and I was always like fascinated with like fantasy, and like Charlie said, like dragons are like, they're never the side men. When there's a dragon in the story, it's about to get real serious. Like big, fantastical creatures, and I was like, I have to write a story about dragons, like because again, like I've always wanted to be like a princess and be saved and live in the castle. And the dragons were just always like my thing. Like I was just like, yeah, like I can't write a story without dragons. Like I can't be a fantasy writer and not talk about dragons. And then of course with Game of Thrones, I absolutely love that. So yeah, I'm even more basic than that, Charlie. I'm just a good old fairy tale girl who loves dragons, who loves fantastical creatures, who should actually do more research into dragons, but I have not yet.
Me too.
I think like my obsession with dragons came, I'm a little bit different, I think, because I don't actually read a lot of fantasy. I'm like, I don't watch fantasy TV shows except for, maybe The Witcher because Henry Cavill is, great. But,
we all only watch The Witcher for Henry Cavill.
Absolutely.
The show is not even good, but go
on. The series that really sold it for me, it's the only fantasy series that I really like got into, was the Dragonlance series. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it really helped me embrace like my nerdy side when I was in high school, and it really helped me learn how to be creative. And my book, The Serpent Lord, is a little bit misleading because it tells this really basic story through the entire 4-book series that'll be putting out, but it's actually a multi like series universe that's going to like interconnect. And dragons play a very centric role in it because they're more of like the knights. They're the ones that protect the unicorns, who are more like royalty. So I'm doing a little bit of a different spin on dragons because I really want to do a throwback to Dragonlance and like say thank you to all the different authors in that series for inspiring me to be a fantasy writer.
Oh,
yeah.
I think the Dragons of Pern were like the first dragon-related series I read growing up, and I've, of course, The Hobbit with Smaug in it. But just, I love the idea of dragons being sort of this omniscient, wise being, because they're so often portrayed as just, okay, these are the big bads, but they've lived so long and seen so much that when I wrote The Vow That Twisted Fate, having them in there as like the godlike creatures that people had started to forget about was sort of a side slip for my love for dragons, but putting them in Starfire Express was just, okay, here's what they could be if they were more than just the bad guy protecting the gold, you know. Just wanted to add dimension to them, I guess. I just love the idea of dragons being sort of that godlike figure in the book, being able to see beyond, you know, just human and our issues, I guess. But Helen says, so many great things to look for. And by the way, Charlie, I'm in the UK too.
There you go. Please, if you don't say something, you'll never know.
Yeah.
Right, you'll never know. Now I have a friend in heaven, you know?
But the dragons are the heroes for the change. Yes, I just think, I don't know, it's going to be weird. Starfire Express has spiraled beyond what I thought it was going to be. The war between the fairies and the dragons and the fae, because there's a difference between fae and fairies in that world, is big, and the fairies are not good.
Oh, that's scary.
It's going to be interesting. But yeah, so a lot of exciting things coming
also,
this
can
year.
I just plug really fast? Y'all, if y'all want to read a dragon book that is going to have your jaw on the floor, read Genesis of Dragons by Charlotte Murphy here.
Oh, me. I'm thinking, which one? Tell me.
You know them conversations we done had.
Yeah, I put this girl through some
you.
Finally.
This is just a PSA. If you want to read a dragon book that is going to make you cry, have your jaw on the floor, and you want to message Charlie immediately of why she broke your heart, read Genesis of Dragons. It's good.
I appreciate that. And it's just like, I'm nodding. Obviously, she's saying something nice, but I'm nodding because I'm very aware that Genesis isn't your typical happy ever after. And it's not even necessarily a sad ever after. And I think that's what most people have been yelling at me about, as in they were simultaneously happy for one person, but then not happy for the other person. And they didn't know how to deal with the fact that it's tied up, it's finished. There's no cliffhanger or anything, but they didn't know how to deal with the fact that, okay, this ended quite real lifey.
It plays with your emotions. Just say
it. And so I do get what she means in the sense of, so yes, all of the abuse, please send it to me, because at least that's, it's an emotion and I'm here for it. I love it. So yeah, Genesis is different. It's different. It's not.
It is very different.
Oh yeah, close it and it's finished. It's very different. It's very different.
So I have personally started reading all of your books, and I actually owe all of you reviews. And Charlie's Genesis of Dragons is on my list of 26 books to finish and review for 2022. And I can say they are all really good from what I've read so far. And I'm going to try to drop the links in the description on the YouTube video. And I apologize again, my power went out right before the live. Literally. So I'm on my phone. You got my green screen and everything, just green. So I'm going to have to drop those links in later, but I will drop the Instagram links for all 4 of these amazing dragon authors and their books that are already out. So you can check them out and maybe find some new reads for 2022.
Definitely.
So thank you all so much for joining today. This was so much fun.
It was.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. I hope everybody has a great new year. If you're watching, the next live, I believe, is in about 20 minutes, and that's our Japanese culture-inspired fantasy with Xander Cross and Wren. And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I don't know that I have ever once seen Catherine's face, even though we chat a lot. Her photo on the tab is still her, drawing. And so I'm excited just to
get a face reveal on top of it.
Yeah, subscribe and hit the bell. We've got that, and then we've got Dark Young Adult Fantasy tonight, and then a couple more tomorrow. So thanks again, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.